Welcome to the Cable Skill Builder Box tutorial. First off, what are cables? Cables are very simply motifs that are created by knitting the stitches in a different order. Often, you'll find that cables are knit with a reverse stockinette background. You can see that here and here and here. You can change the look of cables by varying the number of stitches that you use to do the crossing. With this swatch, the cable has 4 stitches and the cable crossing is 4 stitches wide. With this one, the cable is 8 stitches and the stitches we're crossing are only 2 stitches wide. So you can see it makes the part that's crossing the front of the cable very narrow and the background of the cable wide. With this one, we're only crossing 1 stitch in the front. So again, we have a wide background for it, but the cross itself is only 1 stitch wide. These are fairly basic cables. More complicated or interesting motifs can be created by rearranging the number of stitches and rearranging how they interact with each other. Some examples are here in this hat. So here there is a 3x3 cable, as well as a cable that was worked with a background that is ribbed. So it gives a really deeply textured, opulent fabric. In this hat, you may not even be able to tell that they are cables. But in this case, it's knit on a reverse stockinette background as before, but 1 stitch is the one that's held in the front and it's carried across the cable to create what looks like V's. When you are knitting a cable, you will be asked to hold stitches at the front or at the back. For this swatch, I have essentially a ribbing that is 4 knits and 3 purls. Your knit columns will be where you work your cable, and the purl columns will create the reverse stockinette background. There are multiple ways to create a cable. You can use a short double-pointed needle. You can also use the cable needle hook tool, or you can choose not to use a cable needle at all. I'll show you how to hold stitches at the front or at the back using all 3. So first, with a double-pointed needle, if the instructions say to hold the stitches at the front, you'll simply slide the needle into the stitches as they still are on the left needle, slide them off, and hold them in the front. If the instructions say to hold up back, you would do the same process, but literally put those stitches at the back of the knitting. Okay? We'll put these back on. And I'll show you with the cable needle tool. With this one, you would do the same thing. Slide the cable needle into the stitches. If we're holding at front, you slide them off of the left needle and hold them in the front of the work. Because it's curved, you could literally put the stitches in the curve to keep them securely held while you work the next stitches. And if we are holding at the back, we do the opposite of that process. We slide the needle into the stitches, slide it off of the left needle, and then we hold the cable tool at the back. If we are cabling without a cable needle, we take the right needle and slide it into the back of the next 2 stitches in our cable. That means that these 2 stitches will be the ones that are held in front. Then we rearrange the stitches simply by pinching them, taking the left needle out, putting it into the stitches that were hanging there, and then replace the stitches that are on the right needle back onto the left. That's what held in front stitches would look like if we cabled without a cable needle. All right, let's rearrange these stitches again. Okay, they're all back to their position on the left needle. If we want to hold it back, we would put the right needle into the 2 stitches on the cable. See, these 2 are at the back now. We would pinch again, slide the left needle back into those stitches because we're rearranging and we're not using a separate needle to hold the stitches at the front or at the back. The stitches we want to have in the front are now put back on the left needle, and they are held in the front. Okay. First, I will show you how to make a 2x2 left cross cable. I will use all 3 tools, or all 3 techniques so you can see. Since we are making a left cross, we will be holding the stitches in the front. So with your short DPN, take those first 2 stitches, slide them off the left needle, and hold them at the front. Next, knit the next 2 stitches. Because my DPN is similar to the size of the working needle, I can knit these stitches straight off the needle and onto the right needle. 1 and 2. Okay. So there we have our left cross. You can see the cable is pointed to the left. So success. Okay. I'll show it to you again, this time with our cable needle that is curved. Slide 2 stitches from the left needle onto your cable needle. Hold them at the front. Work the next 2 stitches on the left needle. And because this needle is significantly smaller than our working needle, I'm going to go ahead and slide the stitches back onto the left needle instead of knitting directly off the needle. So there they are, back on the left needle. 1, 2. Okay. And there you have 2 left crossing cables. Instead of starting a whole new row, I'm going to just tink back a little bit so I can show you the left cross without a cable needle. Okay. So let me just take the cable off, replace the stitches, making sure the stitches are facing the correct direction. All right, we're good to go. So for the left cross without a cable needle, we'll take the right needle and slide it into the back of the second 2 stitches of the cable. Slide the left needle out of the first 2 stitches, basically so that we can take the needle from behind to in front. Put those 2 free stitches back on the left needle. And those first 2 stitches are now in the front of the left needle, and we can just knit them straight off the needle. All of these techniques work perfectly fine to create all kinds of cables. I prefer cabling without a cable needle. It feels faster and creates a tighter cable, in my opinion. but as you can see, they look very much the same. Now I will show you how to create a 2x2 right cross using a cable needle, a short double pointed needle, and using no cable needle. To create a right crossing cable, we will be holding the stitches at back this time. So with our short DPN, we'll take those first 2 stitches off the left needle, slide them onto our DPN and hold it at the back of our work. Then we'll knit 2 stitches off of our left needle. And again, because my double pointed needle is about the same size, I can knit the next 2 stitches directly off of it. Okay. Now we have a right crossing cable. We know that is the case because the cable is pointed this way. Okay. Let's get to our next column and we will do it again, but this time with our cable needle tool. Just as before, you take the first 2 stitches off the left needle, slide them onto your cable needle tool, and put it at the back of your work. Knit the next 2 stitches off the left needle, and then we will place the stitches from the cable tool back onto the left needle. We're not knitting directly off this needle because it is not the same size as our working needle. Okay, then we'll go ahead and knit those 2 stitches that we've replaced on the left needle, and we're all done. Get to the end of the row here, and I will give you a look at our beautiful cables. Okay, there we go. 2 lovely right crossing 2x2 cables. Okay, I'm going to tink back on this row and show you the technique of making a 2x2 right cross cable, this time with no cable needle. Again, all of these techniques work. They will all give you beautiful cables. It's really a matter of preference. Okay, so to create the cable without using a cable needle, what we'll do is we'll take the right needle, slide it into the second 2 stitches. These are the ones that would be in the front. We'll be knitting those first, but we are rearranging the stitches on the needle without using that 3rd needle. So go ahead and give it a little pinch and slide the first 2 stitches off of the needle. Then take them and slide them back onto the needle. What we're doing is literally just rearranging the stitches. Take those stitches that we put on the right needle, put them back on the left, and then all we have to do is knit straight. That's our 4 stitches that made our cable. Go ahead and get to the end of the row here. And there you go. 2 right crossing cables using 3 different techniques. For this tutorial, you got a chart that has 40 stitches and 41 rows. The great thing about a cable chart is it is essentially literally a pictorial representation of what your fabric will look like. So you can see here the column of 2x2 cables, column of 2x2 cables, another column of 2x2 cables, but this time they're more spread out. You see that here. Another set of 2x2 cables, the next one, and then the last one. When you're reading a chart, it is worked from right to left. That might feel counterintuitive, but remember, on your needles, you are knitting the stitches on this side first and you're working this way. So the chart works exactly the same. There are standard symbols in charts. You may see some variations, but generally an open square is a knit stitch and a square with a dot in it is a purl stitch. So what you can see here is on this first row, we have 3 purls, 4 knits. I'm sorry. We have 1 knit and 3 purls, and then 4 knits, 3 purls, 4 knits, 3 purls, all the way to the end. For the cable crossing, you'll see that we have explanations and a symbol that goes with those. So for a 2x2 left cross, you'll see that here, also here. Slip 2 stitches to cable needle and hold in front. Knit 2, then knit 2 from cable needle. Then for the 2x2 right cross, you'll slip 2 stitches to cable needle and hold in the back, knit 2, then knit 2 from the cable needle. Okay? Sometimes you'll find these instructions in a list of abbreviations at the end of a pattern. Sometimes you'll find it here on the chart. It depends. For the pattern that comes with the box, there are both chart instructions and written instructions. I highly encourage you to learn to read a chart because it will allow you to really see what you're knitting, and you can see on the fabric itself if things are going the way they should be going. Okay. Here is the first 2 rows of the swatch pattern. Let's go ahead and work the 3rd row together. To help you out, there are numbers along the sides that show you the row you're on, as well as which column or stitch you're on. I've already worked row 1 and 2, so we're starting here with 3. Knit, purl 3. Knit 4, purl 3. So the first cable we arrive at is the 2x2 left cross. So to create that, we'll take our DPN, slip 2 stitches from the left side onto your cable needle, and we will hold those at the front. Work the next 2 stitches off the left needle. 1, 2. And then work the 2 stitches off of our double pointed needle. This is a little fiddly. As you practice, it will get simpler, or if you choose to perfect cabling without a cable needle, that particular thing will no longer be a challenge. Okay, let's keep going until we get to our next cable crossing. So here we are. We just did this one, 3 purls. Now we'll do 4 knits. And 3 purls. And since we're making a second cable on the same row, I'm going to go ahead and show it to you without a cable needle. In this case, we're doing a right cross. That means that the extra 2 stitches would have been held at the back, but because we're not using a cable needle, it'll look a little different. These 2 stitches are the ones that would be held at the back. So we'll take our right needle and go in front of those and stick it through our the next 2 stitches. Okay. Take the left needle, slide it out of those stitches, and then put them back on. It may not look like we're doing much, but once we slide them off the needle and pull the needle out, it allows us to hold these stitches in the back, which is what we need to do to create a right cross. Take the stitches on the right needle, put them back on the left, and then we can just knit those 4 stitches straight off the needle. This is essentially creating the cable on the left needle before you actually do the knitting. All right, let's get to the end of this row. All right, we end with 3 purls and a knit. Okay, there you have it. So again, you can use written instructions, but it's great to actually just look at your knitting. So here are our purls, our knits, purls, right cross, purls, knits, purls, left cross, purls, knits, purls. Okay? Once you've created a cable, in addition to using a row counter, you may want to use a removable stitch marker. You would want to slide it into the actual stitch you have on the needle, not that elongated stitch. So if you choose to use a removable marker like this one, it doesn't go on the elongated stitch here, it goes on the stitch that's actually on the needle. You could choose to add it after you work the wrong side row, but then you have to remember to add it. And sometimes we get really excited about our knitting and we don't remember to do that. So you can go ahead and add your removable stitch marker as soon as this row is done. Just put it through the stitch that is on the needle. Let's take a look at the wrong side. Because this swatch is essentially ribbing, the back of the swatch looks literally just like ribbing. So here's our front side, our removable marker letting us know where we did our cable crossing. And then here's the wrong side. Just a neat little set of ribbing. Okay, I've gone ahead and worked up to row 6 so that we can work row 7 together. So here's row 7. Let's go ahead and knit 1 and purl 3. Okay. Now we'll work a 2x2 left cross with our short double pointed needle. We'll slide the first 2 stitches onto the double pointed needle, the short double pointed needle. We'll hold it at the front. Knit the next 2 stitches off of the left needle. And then knit the 2 stitches off of the short DPN. Okay. There's our left crossing cable. Purl 3. Knit 4. Since I have 3 cables to work with, I will show you all 3 cable techniques on this row. Exciting times. Okay, we are doing another left cross. So we'll take our cable needle, slide it into the first 2 stitches. We'll hold those at the front. Work the next 2 stitches off of our left needle. Then slide the 2 stitches from the cable needle back onto the left needle. and knit them off of the left needle. Okay, there's our second left cross. And lastly, we will cable without a cable needle. So let me just get to that next set of knit stitches. Okay, so we are doing a right cross here. So we'll take the right needle and put it into the second pair of stitches. So see, that's one pair, the second pair. Slide our left needle out of the first pair. Slide it back in. Take those stitches off the right needle and put them back onto the left. And that allows us to knit those 4 stitches without doing anything more to them. Purl 3 and then knit 1. Okay, so now you can see on one swatch all 3 techniques. And as you can see, it gives you a beautiful result, regardless as to which of them you choose. Let's talk about how to get gauge on a cabled swatch. It can feel a bit tricky because since the stitches are knit out of order, it doesn't look exactly the same as if we were measuring a stockinette swatch or something to that effect. Because of the way the swatch is set up, we essentially are using a glorified ribbing, a ribbing that has been adorned with cables. So you can measure this in a similar way that you would the gauge swatch in a similar way that you would with ribbing. With a swatch, generally bigger is better. So when you make your swatch, giving yourself a generous swatch means that you can measure your gauge from somewhere in here versus the edges where the fabric can be a bit warped. So take your ruler. I like to use an actual ruler rather than a measuring tape because measuring tapes are kind of flimsy and sometimes they move around a bit more. So I like to use an actual ruler. So go ahead and place the start at any stitch you choose. Notice I did not start at the very top because again, we don't want to include those stitches if possible because they aren't a really good indication of the actual gauge of the fabric. And then we would just go ahead and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 1 inch. 7 rows is 1 inch. To get a good gauge, again, you would want to keep counting. So you would probably go all the way to 4 inches at least. If you don't want to count on the actual cable, you can also count on the purl on the reverse stockinette side. You can count the purl bumps on the reverse stockinette area. All right, so the same thing, we'll line our ruler up and then we'll just count. You have to choose if you're going to count the top purl bumps or the bottom bumps. I like to use the top bumps. It doesn't matter, but you have to be consistent, whatever you pick. Okay, I'm using the top bumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we got the same thing whether we measured the cable column or the column of purls. For the stitch gauge, it makes the most sense to put your ruler somewhere where you're not directly on top of a cable because as you can see, this section is significantly narrower than this section. One of the ways that this swatch was created to provide ease for you is the cables are spread out. Notice they're not tightly packed, so the fabric isn't terribly warped. With a more intricate cable pattern, the fabric will draw in more and measuring the gauge will be a little bit trickier. So for our gauge swatch, I'm going to put my ruler in between 2 cable crossings so I don't have to worry about the warping. Put it flat on top. This swatch was washed and blocked, pinned and blocked. So when we're measuring here, It is a finished swatch. If you want to get an accurate measurement, it's really important that you actually launder your swatch the way you would be laundering the finished piece. Okay, so we've got 4 here, 3 more, that's 7. So that gives us 1 1/4 inches. 4 more, 3 more, that's 14. That gives us about 2.5. Another 7, that's 21. That gives us about 3.25. And then our 4 inches actually falls in the middle of a cable, but that's okay. So our gauge over 4 inches is 7, 14, 21, 22, 23. So we have 23 stitches for 4 inches.